The Outer's in shambles. The game's just completely redefined itself with Magia, Exedra version 2.0. Now, why are they calling it 2.0? Because they've just changed how you're gonna approach the game's endgame. And yeah, there's some really huge stuff in there, specifically a new kind of system on how you build your characters that I think does warrant this being a 2.0 release. So what are we getting? First off, the second part of the 100-day fest is going to be coming with a login bonus at first, which is just 3,000 Magia stones. And as you see, we're getting swimsuit characters as well, and a summer event on top of all of that. And we also, as usual, get some quality of life improvements, as is usually the case. In this case, now keys that you gain will last twice as long before they expire. However, only keys that you gain after tomorrow will count in there. And legacy medals will also no longer expire. Awesome. They also have made some changes to PvP matchmaking so that it's going to be a bit fairer in giving you teams that are closer to your own party power ranking. And also they're going to be increasing the amount of sand files you get for the hard file items in the event shops and in Scroll Attack and all of that. Now, on top of all of that, I didn't make a specific video about this or a post, but Steam release is happening basically tomorrow at this point. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Or the day after tomorrow. It's not quite sure when exactly, because on my Steam, it actually shows the 16th on July instead of the 7th. So I don't know. But yeah, Steam release is happening as well. And of course, you don't need to worry about having to start a new account or anything. This is the same server as the mobile server, so you have still the same account. And of course, you can just continue playing with your mobile account. It's totally fine. And then if you want to go back to mobile, of course, you can just continue playing on mobile as well afterwards. Not an issue. You can just play on both. So what is going to be different about the Steam version compared to the mobile version? Well, it's going to have a rebindable keyboard control. So you can see at the bottom, it shows you what your controls are currently bound to, and then you can apparently go into some menu and change what all of these keys are bound to. So you can have a more tighter control with just keyboard over the game. So already that's going to be quite nice. I think that's something that Starfield also has. But yeah, it's good that this is here, because if it wasn't, we would be kind of mad. And on top of all of that, the more important part is that we're getting the option to swap from the regular mobile low quality graphics to actual like high fidelity PC graphics, basically, which is just going to be a better graphics resolution setting. So high resolution makes sense because of course it's going to be on a bigger monitor. If it was the low resolution on a bigger monitor, that would look kind of bad. So of course we're going to get the high resolution as well. Then what are we getting? We're getting more gems monthly. It's not enough to just get a one-time load of a lot of gems. We need more gems repeatedly. So they're saying, okay, we're giving you 600 more stones each month just from these monthly missions now. So that's just something you get on top of everything else now, starting with August and then for every single month afterwards. Nice. They also give you now more gems with your Magia Pass, which is something that I mentioned in the last update video, and it's going to start now in August, where your Exedra Pass is now giving you a lot more gems, especially if you've already subscribed to Exedra Pass at least 2 months in a row, then you actually get double the gems. Awesome. Also, quite interestingly enough, the level cap increase is coming, because that has already been announced last time. They said mid-July it's going to happen, and it's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to get a new level cap, so the cap for your player account, and I assume for your characters as well, it's going to go to 120, and the cap for your magic level is going to go from 120 to 130. And people have been wondering, what do you get for those 10 levels? We still don't know, sadly, but people have also been wondering, will it take the same amount of resources? Will it take more resources? What will it take to go from 120 to 130? And apparently it will take these items. So this is the next level of orbs. They're called cores. So yeah, these cores are probably going to be the final upgrade on the upgrade materials, and you will need them to go from 120 to 130, and probably in the future to go to 140, 150, 160, etc, etc. So yeah, we still don't know what those 10 levels actually do, but you will need to get those, which you will gain from events, from login bonuses, from basically every place that you gain any amount of resources from. You're also going to be gaining these. So yeah, don't worry, you'll just be gaining these passively while you play the game, and then you can upgrade your favorite characters. Nice. Now, what they didn't mention is if it will also take the older orbs, like the older orbs, because if it does, that would be kind of bad. But if it doesn't, imagine if it only takes these orbs to go from 120 to 130. If that is somehow the case, that would actually be kind of a positive, because it would mean that you can use all of those older materials, like the orbs you currently have, and just spread them out equally across all your characters and get basically everyone to 120 without having to worry about wasting it or anything. But yeah, we'll have to see again what exactly it actually takes to get from 28 to 30 and what you actually gain from those. What else do we get? Well, they just announced a new type of content that is not gonna happen tomorrow, sadly, but is coming soon-ish in fall, where they basically just said, okay, you know how currently there's no multiplayer in the game, but what if we did have some multiplayer in the game? It's new co-op content, and that's all they said. That's literally all they showed. It's like there's new co-op content coming soon. Awesome. So they gave a little bit of a detailed explanation, but not really, where they said that you would have the ability to fight co-op in some way, as it shows right here, by requesting backup in some way, and there will be bonuses, or at least it will be beneficial for you to play together with people from your union, but you don't have to. So even if you're not in a union, you can still make use of whatever this new co-op content will be. My guess is that you fight witches together, and whenever you die, then someone else picks up the torch and fights and continues the fight, basically. Kind of like a relay race, but instead of being a relay race, it's a relay fight, is my guess. And if you're in a union, I guess you can pass the baton to people from your union, and maybe they gain damage buffs or something. But if you're alone, then it will just pass the baton to random people, maybe. I'm not quite sure about that. But yeah, you don't have to worry about having to be in a union for this. That said, there will be more updates regarding general union content later in this video, so stay tuned for that. And now for the actual big part. This is why this is Exedra 2.0. So, you know how currently in the game, when you get to the end game and you have a lot of resources and you have characters that you just pulled from the gacha, if you have a lot of resources, you will just instantly put all those resources into that character. They will instantly go to level 100, they will go to magic level 120, they will have their portrait that they want, they will have the support Kyoku that is best for them. There's not really much to do. Right, you're basically done building a character as soon as you get that character. And that character will basically be the same as everyone else's character, right? Like my Homoda is basically the same as everyone else's Homoda that has the same level of ascensions, right? So I have an A5 Homoda, it's going to be the exact same as everyone else's A5 Homoda. That's not really interesting, and it's not really fun. Like I want to be able to say this is the Homoda that I put hard effort into to make sure that this is the best Homoda that could possibly be. Right now I can't do that. And there's also not much reason to continue farming more resources, because if I already have so many that I can just draw a new character and instantly level them up, what do I need more resources than that for, right? It's kind of like, there's not really much of a reason to log in every day and spend my resources, right? So we're gonna make sure to fix all of those problems all at once using this one new system. And it's called the Crystallis system in English. And what this system is I'm gonna have to rip the band-aid off. It's similar, it's not like, okay, it's similar to the Hoyo's artifact / relic system that they use in Genshin and Star Rail and ZZZ and whatever, where I'm gonna just show it. Okay, so you have your character, awesome, and you have a new strengthening quest. It shows right here. They go through it rather quickly, but you have this new strengthening quest that you spend your QP on, that you have up here, and you go into here in your Crystallis nodes, and then you fight a Crystallis node of a specific element, depending on what character you want to put in there, and then you just do a little fight that you can't skip, by the way. And the reason why you can't skip these fights is because you need to prove that the characters you take into this can actually earn the rewards for this, because every single character that's in your fight for these quests will gain a random drop of something called this Crystallis or whatever, right? So they'll gain this random drop, and what this does is, as you can see, they have different rarities. You have purple rarity right here. I think the lowest one is blue rarity. There's a orange rarity right here, which is basically legendary. It's like the second best rarity that there is. And you can also see that, oh, you can get multiples of the same for each character. So for example, in this case, Lux Madoka already had a rigorous bulwark, so it got converted into some random materials, okay? So basically the idea is you go in here, you fight these quests, and everyone who's taking part gains a random drop, and you want them to get the best rarity of drop possible. And if they gain a dupe, it gets converted into some material that is used for something we'll see in a second. Okay, so now that a character has these crystals, what does that character do with these crystals? Well, they can now equip these crystals in ability slots, and you start out with one ability slot at first, each character, and you can then put some special items into that character, and they will unlock more slots, up to 3 slots. So basically 3 equipment slots. And it'll take these items, they're new items, I think they're called open vase in Japanese. I don't know if they're also going to be called open vase in English, because usually the names are very different between Japanese and English. But you basically gain these also from login bonuses, from event shops, from events, basically every other place as well. But you can't farm these, and you will just put them into your character, and they can equip more of these ability slots. And as you can see, for example, in this case, this looks Madoka. Maybe she was in one of the fights and she gained something called Direct Hit Plus, which is a purple rarity crystallis, and she has equipped it. But you could probably go into this menu. If you press the set button right here, you can probably select other crystallis that you have collected on Lux Madoka to use in this case. And it seems like every character will have to collect their own crystallis, meaning that if you roll a new character, you then have to put that character on your team, put that character into crystallis, and have that character farm their own crystallis. So the direct hit one, for example, it gives 8% crit rate. That's just what direct hit plus does, right? It's just a hard stat that is on this crystallis. And then there's these 2 slots right here. Now I can tell you there's more slots depending on the rarity. So the low rarity ones, I think it's blue, only has 1 slot. And then I think legendary and EX, which is the highest one, EX has 3 slots. And if you press this plus button right here, at first when there's nothing in there, it will then give you, as you can see, random stats. Yes, it's random, but here's the important part. This might look similar to the relic system in, like for example, Genshin Impact, where you go into a fight and you fight and you fight and you fight, and then at the end you gain random items, right? And these random equipment items, they will have 4 different random stats, and then you have to increase those stats, and which of these 4 stats gets increased when you level up the item is also random. So you have to not only hope that you get the correct 4 stats that you want this piece to have, then when you increase the level of that item, you need to hope that the correct stats get increased. And that's really RNG heavy, and why a lot of people hate this sort of system, which I can understand. I also am not the biggest fan of the system, but I understand why it exists, because I mentioned way earlier at the start of this segment why this kind of system makes sense. Now, what does Exedra do to alleviate all of those problems? First off, the first step, the highest rarity has only 3 slots instead of 4. Already that does way better for RNG. Secondly, instead of having to farm a crap ton of items and having to have each one then upgrade with levels or whatever, you just have the item right here. You just have this 1 Perseverance Plus in this case, for example, and then you can instead reroll repeatedly. And these items that you saw earlier, when the characters had duplicates, right? You saw them here, they had duplicates, and then it got converted into these weird items. These items are what's used to then reroll those stats again. So you can press this reload again button, and then it will re-roll by using those items. So that is how you can re-roll those slots. But here's the important part. Here's the biggest improvement. They didn't show it in this video right here, but they did show it off in the live stream. There's an item, which probably also hopefully you can get a lot of very quickly, I hope so at least, that allows you to take one of these random stats and says, that stat, I want that stat, and lock it in, right? So let's say, for example, I have my Homoda, and she just rolled a really high attack. I assume they're all the same number, so she just rolled attack on her EX ability, gem or whatever crystal is they're called. And then I say, okay, I want that attack. So I lock it in using that item, and then it will just stay in place. And then I can only re-roll the other stats, which means that there is basically a limit. There's like a limit to how unlucky you can get, because eventually you will get a good stat, and when you have a good stat, you lock it in, and then you can just continue rolling the rest until you have, once again, good stats, lock it in, and then at some point you just have a really good piece. And we don't know the exact limits of this. Like, can you lock in multiple? Can you only lock in once? Do you need to lock in every time you reroll, or does a lock-in stat just stay forever? Like, I don't know. We still need to check the actual details, but at least it seems that this would be a much improved system compared to the Hoyoverse Relic system, because it seems like there's a lot less RNG and you have a lot more control. For example, the control over the main stat. Like I said right here, this Crystallis gem that it's called Directed, it just has crit on it. You don't need to worry about this not having crit on it. So if you wanted to just say, I want to give my Lux Madoka some crit in this case, you can just go into your menu and just say, take the Directed gem, and there you go, you have crit now. It's really that simple. It's really not that simple in the Hoyoverse games to say, for example, I want the Gladiator set with crit rate. You just have to get lucky and hope that someday it rolls with crit rate on it. It's really not that simple. But yeah, it seems like this is a much improved system, and it comes with one other important caveat that is not shown in this video once again, where the EX Crystallis actually have a special effect. Instead of just increasing some stat as the main stat and then having some secondary stats, it also gives a special effect, and this special effect depends on the character. Now, since you can equip 3 ability slots, 3 Crystallis slots here, I don't know that if you can have 3 EX crystals. Maybe you can only have 1 EX crystal, and then the other 2 have to be different EX crystals. Maybe you can have 3 of the same, I don't know. But for example, they showed off with Homuda that Homuda specifically as the EX crystal effect gains like increased follow-up damage, right? Something like that. So yeah, some characters might have really good EX crystals, and it seems like they're not showing off the EX crystals for new characters, because a new character is going to be announced at the end of this video that and they didn't show what the EX crystal for that character is. So it seems like in the future we might have to wait for characters to release to check what the EX crystals actually do. And those crystals might make some characters a lot better and might not be that good for other characters. We'll just have to see. But generally this system feels really nice, because now I can actually go in and make my Homu the best Homu that has ever Homu'd out there. I can say, that is my Homu. You see all those other Homus? Yeah, they're shit. But my Homu is the best. And that is going to feel so good. And it also means that now finally I actually have something to use all of that QP on, because now I can actually go into the strengthening quests and look at all these quests that I can do now to actually spend my QP on and actually have something to do each day. Oh, it's going to be nice. But yeah, that's it for probably the most important part of the entire 2.0 release. So once again, we're going to have to actually wait until this releases to get more of the juicy details. And when we do, we're going to make an entire video just about the Crystallis system to tell you how to best approach it. Next up though, we've got some Q&A where they just answer some questions from people in that people sent in. First off, I'm going to go through this very, very quickly because there's not really that much stuff here. When's Union content? So they just mentioned that earlier there will be collaborative quests, that I mentioned these co-op quests, but they also are working on actual like Union-only content, but it will take a while, right? My guess is that because it's going to be a lot of this will be about like multiplayer network infrastructure, and network infrastructure is like really not that simple to deal with. But yeah, it will still take some time. Next up, when can we swap between voice lines in hard files of characters that have multiple Kyoku? And they say sometime this fall. Okay. When is Doppel Iroha getting a new model? Well, sometime this year. They did mention that they understand and they agree that Doppel Iroha having the same model as normal Iroha was a mistake, and they shouldn't have done that. But now they say, well, just putting the hood down might not be enough, because we're gonna have double futures in the characters as well, double characters in the future as well. So wouldn't it be nice to have just something else visually making them distinct? And they're still working on that, so we don't know exactly when it's gonna happen, but they're working on something, just some way of making them more visually distinct. Do they have plans for main stories soon? Well, Scene 0 will be added to main story very soon, and then the next Magia chapter is coming this fall. When's more stories with the Lighthouse team? So that's Yodaka, AQ, and Namae. They're working on it. Yeah, that's about it. When is more original stories generally for everyone? Well, they are working on a side story similar to Scene 0 right now, which is going to be original. And if it's going to be as long as Scene 0, oh my god, that's going to be so much content. Holy crap. So yeah, they will announce that this fall, it seems like. When can we customize the home screen? Maybe even put some of our favorite characters on the home screen. And they said, in late September, we're going to announce something. And that's very specific. to say not just this fall or something, or we're going to announce it later. No, it's specifically late September, which to me signals they already have something in the works. They already have something, but it's going to take a little bit more time to finalize. It's my guess. Okay, now on to more free stuff. Now, first off, how do you unlock Crystallis? Well, to unlock the Crystallis system, you need to beat Rose Garden Witch Part 1 Nightmare. And to celebrate that very fact, they're giving you a 5-star guaranteed Magia key by beating Rose Garden Witch Part 1, which isn't even the boss, by the way. It's just the very first tutorial window, basically, on Nightmare, which you can do very early in the game, even before you've beaten, or right as you beat regular story difficulty, so very early in the game. Awesome. And it says if you previously cleared a mission quest, the mission will complete upon clearing it again. So it seems you need to do this again. So once this is in there, which I think is going to be tomorrow, go in there and beat this again for a 5-star key. Awesome. What else do we have? We have a login bonus, which gives the new orb cores that I mentioned earlier. Okay, nothing too special. Then you get a special event, which doesn't show to be temporary. Like, there's no date or anything on here. But I assume this is temporary, because it would be kind of weird if they introduce a new strength quest and then immediately say it's half off. But yeah, it seems like half upgrade quest QP for probably a limited time. Maybe actually it's permanent, we don't know. But that's pretty good. Then there's also going to be missions for 20 extra QP cubes. So you get even more to use, even though you can still only use 8 a day, which they really should raise that limit, especially now. Then there's also going to be another paid banner where you pay once to gain a 5-star Kyoku guaranteed. But even though it shows these 3 characters, I don't know if you're guaranteed to get one of these 3 characters, or if it will just randomly be a 5-star character and these 3 might be on rate up. I don't know. If that's the case, what else do we have? There's a sale on webshop again, as basically every single time, or something like that. Then, as I mentioned earlier, Season 0, the first part at least, so the first third, is getting added to the main story on the 23rd, which is next week. And in celebration of that, they're also giving login bonuses, up to 10 Magia keys. Awesome, to celebrate Season 0 coming to main story as well. Great. What else do we have? Well, we also have this. So now, for the next 10 times you log in, you will gain a free 10 draw on, I assume, the standard banner. It doesn't say here, but I assume the standard banner. So yeah, you get 10 free draws for a grand total of 100 draws after 10 times. So yeah, pretty cool. What else do we have? Oh my god, we have so much more stuff. We have the actual summer event. So here it is. Look at that, it's a summer event. So they introduced 3 characters at once, which is Swimsuit Sayaka, Swimsuit Mami, and Swimsuit Madoka. Since they mentioned this being the first part, I can tell you right now we're getting Mami as the character, and the second part will then probably feature Madoka and Sayaka. Probably both of them at once, maybe one after another, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, this is an original story. This is not an adaptation of anything that came before. It is an original new story, don't worry about that. So yeah, new story, and you can see right here for this first part of this event, the Swimsuit Mami will be the featured character, as you can see right here. And we actually have the deets on Swimsuit Mami, but before we do that, there's a bunch of other stuff we need to actually talk about first. So first of all, 3 of these will be limited characters, which makes sense. They're seasonal alts, and seasonal means limited, basically, in this case. So what else do we have? Well, this seasonal event also comes with a score attack against Paula, the Rubber Witch, and you can also see that this score attack will already give you the new rewards, these new items for the 120 to 130 magic level increase, as well as the new items required to work around the Crystallis system. Awesome. And there will be some slight changes to the score attack system. In this case, the score attack, instead of just dumping a whole bunch of rewards on you at once automatically, it now has its own event shop that you gain resources for, and you can spend the resources in the event shop to prioritize which items you actually want to get from this. And as they mentioned, there's now more stuff available from score attack, so that's pretty good. More stuff is always nice. I'm not gonna say no to more stuff. They also changed the way the difficulty system worked. So before it went from difficulty 1 to difficulty 15. Now, and clearing a difficulty unlocked the next difficulty in line, which means you needed to do like 15 fights in total, if you can even beat level 15. Now they're saying we're gonna say it's not 15, we're gonna go all the way to 50, to difficulty 50, but each time you win, you unlock the next 5 difficulties. So you still actually need to do only 10 battles to get all the way to 50 instead of the 15 battles it would take before to get from 1 to 15. So it's actually less battles. But now you can more easily fine-tune exactly what the difficulty is that you want, because now instead of saying, oh, 11 is too easy, but 12 is too hard, now you can say, okay, I can go exactly to 43 or whatever, 42 or something, and that is exactly the difficulty that I want. And that's hopefully going to make it easier for people to choose a difficulty that makes sense for them. Great. What else do we have? Well, we have this right here. So I'm not 100% certain exactly what this is, how this is going to work in-game, but they said that this new limited gacha for Mami, and including the limited gachas that are going to be happening for Swimsuit Madoka and Swimsuit Sayaka as well, they're going to use a new system, the bonus gauge system, where instead of just having the spark at 200 pulls, where if you pull 200 times you get you can buy an additional character. Instead of just having that, they now have an additional system where every time you pull, you fill the bonus gauge with 1 point for 1 draw. And this means after 50 draws, you gain a 5-star Kyoku. Great. After a grand total of 100 draws, you first off gain a 5-star Kyoku guaranteed bonus draw, which I assume is just another 5-star guaranteed character. But unlike the key, I assume it will be a character from this banner, which means it could be Swimsuit Mami herself. And then they said now for the actual deets on Swimsuit Mami. So they haven't posted the actual kit for her in English yet at the time of making this. They haven't even posted it in Japanese on their Twitter. But I took this from the stream that they did, because I showed it on stream and put it through machine translation, but I also read it from someone who translated it themselves to see what the kit is actually about. I'm going to just give you a quick overview just so you get a general understanding of the character. I'm not going to give you the details in every single little detail, because that's for the actual video where I talk about this character. But she's a forest attacker, which means that now Nemu is no longer useless. Nemu actually has a partner now. Awesome. And this is going to make Nemu a really good character, by the way. So then we just went from bottom tier to maybe top tier, I don't know. So what does she do? The whole idea behind this Swimsuit Mami is that she wants to build momentum and then stay on that momentum and ride that momentum as hard as she can. What do I mean with that? Well, I'm going to start out with her ability, where she has a magic system where she gains 1 magic at the start of every turn. She can have up to 5 magic. She also gains a magic by using her skill. But she loses a magic, by the way, if she gets hit while she doesn't have a shield. Now I need to make this clear. I mean shield and not barrier. Barrier is the bar that protects your life bar that, for example, defenders give, like Sayaka or Kirika or Sana, right? They give a barrier to the party that absorbs damage. But this is shield. And shield is something that currently only enemies have, and 3-star Kokoro. 3-star Kokoro has shield, and only some enemies do, like the sandbox witch. And what shield does is simply a buff that reduces the damage you take once and then takes a stack of shield off. And you can see right here, her combat skill gives her 2 shields for 20%, which means that once she has those 2 shields, when she gets hit, that damage is reduced by 20% and she loses 1 shield. And she still has a shield left. So then the next time she gets hit, the damage is once again reduced by 20% and then she loses the next shield, right? And it says that if you get hit while you don't have a shield on you, you lose a magic. So you want to always have a shield on you at all times with this, right? Right now, like I said, only 3-star Kokoro and this Mami can actually give shields, so you don't really have any other way of getting shields right now. Although I assume that because this is here, and there's going to be 2 more characters, either Swimsuit Madoka or probably Swimsuit Sayaka is going to give shields to the party. It's going to be my guess, and that's going to be the mechanic for the swimsuit characters. Is my guess that they're going to be shield characters. I don't know. And what does it actually do with the magic? So first off, you don't actually lose magic other than when you get hit without having a shield, but it doesn't get consumed or anything. So if you have 1 magic or more, you gain 30% speed. If you have 3 magic or more, you do 30% more damage. If you have 5 magic, which is the maximum, you do 40% more special damage. It doesn't end there. So the combat skill deals multi-hit damage to the same target, which shreds enemy shields, by the way, because it hits multiple times, then gives self-shield to activate your, to keep your passive safe, and then also gives you 1 extra magic, as I said. Now, if you have 3 magic or more when using skill, you deal extra damage, so an additional hit, and you give yourself a buff. And this buff is really interesting, because this buff then also makes it, while you have this buff, is that for every single piece of magic, or every single point of magic that you have, you gain bonus MP every time you use normal attack, combat skill, or special move. Up to 5 MP if you have 5 magic. So this is what I mean with momentum. You want to keep those magic stacks up, and then you want to have them stay up so that you can both have all of these bonuses down here, but also gain more MP. And not just that, you also want to keep your HP up. Because if you have this Midsummer Fireworks buff, you also, while your HP is 80% or above, you gain more attack power the higher your HP is. So at 100%, if you have full HP, you gain up to 30% more attack. So this is an insane amount of buffs, but it requires having all the magic stacks and not losing them. It requires having max HP and not losing it. So this is what I mean with momentum. And then you round it off with a special, which deals a lot of single target damage multiple times and does even more hits if you have more magic. So a grand total of 9 hits, by the way, if you have 5 magic with this. So yeah, like I said, she's all about momentum, build up the magic, stay at full HP, and you're going to do really well. If you lose your magic, if you are on low HP, she's going to be really, really bad. Like, really, really bad. Maybe one of the worst attackers in the game if you can't build up momentum. But if she does have momentum, she might be one of the best attackers in the game. You have to play her intelligently. And support simply gives basically her passive in a way to, or not her passive, her skill basically to another character where they gain a shield when they use a skill. Awesome. And deal better damage to weak attribute. And then, interesting enough, her A2 is also really good, where at the start of battle she starts with 3 magic already, so she can immediately on turn 1 with just a single skill already get to 5 magic, and she can protect that magic immediately because she starts with a shield. So this already sounds insane, that you can immediately gain a lot of magic. You don't even need to use a skill because you already have a shield, so you can just use normal attack twice to get to maximum magic, and you're still going to be protected by that shield. Awesome. And on top of that, while you have shield, you gain 15% more MP. Awesome. And one of the best A2s in the game. She looks generally really, really good. But like I said, you need to keep her max HP. You need to keep making sure that she has a shield on her, which can be kind of hard to do sometimes. So she takes a lot of effort. You need to make sure you babysit her. But if you babysit her and you set her up correctly, she's going to be absolutely insane, especially with an Nemu on her. So yeah, keep that in mind though, that while this gacha is running, we're still gonna get the announcement for Swimsuit Madoka and Swimsuit Sayaka. So if you're not 100% immediately down with Swimsuit Mami, or you're not quite sure because maybe Swimsuit Sayaka and Swimsuit Madoka are gonna be really, really good, you can just wait until they get announced, and then only after they get announced, you can then decide who you want to roll for. So you don't need to immediately roll on Swimsuit Mami if you're not entirely sure. And with that, we come to the end. Like I said, it's going to be a really, really long video because there's so gosh darn much stuff in here. Jesus Christ. So they just give you a final overview of everything that's going to start tomorrow at this point. So we have the free 10 rolls that are gonna happening every day. We have the Mami Gacha. We have the 3000 gem login bonus. We have the new event with Score Attack. We get the 5-star Kyoko key for doing the first Rose Garden Witch Labyrinth, which, like I said, you might have to do that again when you log in tomorrow. We get more login bonuses that give cores, like the new cores that you need. We get the new system, the Crystallis system, coming tomorrow. We get the level uncap from 100 to 120 and 120 to 130 magic level. We get the new Crystallis enhancement quests that also are now at half QP only. Awesome. We get 20 QP cubes on top of that from checklist missions. We get Scene 0 cut to main story, not immediately, a week later, but the login bonus is already here for 10 keys. You have Steam release is going to happen tomorrow or the day after that. And then, of course, the Magia Pass update, with Magia Pass being even more lucrative. There's so much stuff that is happening, and at this point, Exedra is actually starting to look like a really, really good game. The monthly gem and general resource income is going quite a bit higher. We finally have something that is worthy of being a pity. Although, like I said, this is only for the limited balance right now. We're not sure if this is going to be extended to other balance in the future. But oh my god, this is looking really, really good. And the new endgame system, like I said, I actually really like it a lot. Yes, I've played every single Hoyo game. Yes, I'm not the biggest fan of the way Hoyo does it, but this looks to be an improvement on those systems in a very meaningful way, and I can't wait to check it out, and I can't wait to do a video about it once I figured out all of the ins and outs of that system. So yeah, that was that. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit subscribe and ring the bell. I'll see you guys not just in the next video, but maybe the next stream, because I might be streaming this tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. I might be streaming for the rest of the week, maybe. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, see you guys then. Bye.